G'day legends, welcome back to what should be our last part on the MK Triton tray build. So let's roll the opener and let's get into it. Currently we've got the old tray off the back of the ute, we've got the tray mount tubes on the tray, and we'll be mounting them on, so we'll go have a look at how we're mounting them. So we're just following the old system. You can see those ones there. We've just got some M10 bolts on and they've just been drilled into the new tube, which are on there pretty rigid, and goes into the actual chassis frame. Then we'll sit the actual tray on top of that, and all the bearers run that way for the tray. Will be just welded onto these tubes, here, and the front one. And then we'll see how it looks. So now that we've got the tray mounts all sorted, let's stick it up on the ute and we'll throw in some plate and we'll see what it looks like. So for the plate, what we're going to do is we're going to stick it on with some Sikaflex on the actual bearers, and then weld it down in some places all around the top and then underneath as well to really hold onto that tray and make sure we're not getting any slip or breakages on the actual tray. We don't want it failing, so let's stick it on and see what it looks like. Alright, so now that we've got the tray plates all on and most of the plate all welded on, we're going to start doing the wiring, and then we'll start moving on to bogging out the edges and making a nice flat tray rather than have a lip around the side. So let's jump into it, and got some few tips too, doing the Deutsche Connector and a bit of a tyres tech tutorial. It's a new segment I'd like to introduce, so we'll jump straight into that and we'll look at our Deutsche connectors. When you're doing any work on your car, always make sure you've got some good trade assistance on hand, which we've got here with little Amber and Rusty, giving us a good hand today, putting all these lights in for the tray. Let's jump in and keep working, eh? Alright, so now I've got the other end of my wiring harness, which will be the light end for the trays rather than the actual body end. Now, to do these Deutsche connectors, what you need is these 4-way crimps. Now these are for 16, 20 and 18 dot or DT Deutsche connectors. These for the smaller ones, which we got here. So this is a 6-pin, 6 wires, 6-pin. And I've gone and crimped them all in. I've also chased them behind with a bit of heat shrink and a bit of electrical tape just to help hold them in a lot stronger rather than just rely on those crimps. Give them a lot better chance rather than vibrating off down a track and losing lights. And just on the road even, we don't want that. We don't want to lose our lights and get fined for it. So give them the best chance they got, and we'll chase it up with some tape. So now we've got these all in, we'll take off all the ends, strip all the ends, and we'll start solder joining them onto the tray lights, and we'll see how we go. So let's get into it. Before we go too much further, I'd just like to point out a little tip that I like to do when I do my electrical connections is I actually write down what connections do what. So if I have to replace something later on down the road, or if something fails, I've got a hard copy here that I can chase what light does what to what cable, just to make it a bit easier to fault find. So if that works for you, good job. Alright, so now we've got these all stripped. These are the sort of what you're looking for when you do your wire stripping. Gives you a good long connection for those solder joints. And if you're wondering what these solder joints I keep talking about, these ones. So pretty much you just slip in your two ends of the wires into the solder in the middle there and just heat shrinks on, rather than have to hold a soldering iron and solder. I'm not the greatest with soldering irons, so that's why I opt for these heat shrink solder joints. It makes it a lot easier, a lot tidier. And we'll go and throw in now. Alright, so to do our Deutsche Connections, what we're going to do is we're going to firstly open up our packet of our 3-pin Deutsch connector for our rear work light. And we're going to open them all up. So we've got our male end of the plug and the tri-push lock on the top there, which comes out, and our female end, which also has the green push lock that goes into it. So we're going to take our work light, which is this one here, which is a nice flush mount, which sits on the rear of my tray, and we're going to go and strip our ends. Now, these are probably a little bit long, so we can cut them down just a tad. So with our wire strippers and crimpers in one, we'll cut them down. Alright, so we only need about that much, maybe 5mm on the ends. So we're going to start with our negative. Now we've got these little pins, our male pins, which will go on the end. Then we slide our crimping tool over the top. If we can get in, just like that. A bit too far, so we might back it out a bit. All right. So I like to just take the slack off a little bit and then push our wires right in and squeeze. And then work it out. And then what you're left with is this nice little crimped 4-end connection, which will go into our Deutsch connector. So we'll go and do that to our other two. Now, if you have any tips or tricks you like to do, which makes Deutsch connections easier, throw them up in the comment section. Crimped on. Lucky last. And crimped. All right. So now we've got our 3 ends crimped on. We can go and grab our Deutsch socket, and in the bottom side, you see these orange little rubbers. And what you need to do is you grab your light, choose one that generally corresponds to the other side if you have done the other side first, but I'm working from the light backwards to the car, so we can choose pretty much any one in. So you want to push it in from the backwards, and you'll hear them click, and you can see them from this top end when they're in right. And that's what you're looking for there. You can see that pin just sticking out, and that's what we're after. So we'll go and do that with all of our pins for this light. Sometimes the tips are quite hard to get in, so you might have to grab your long nose pliers just to help pull it and wiggle it up a little bit, just to get that nice click, and then you know it's seated properly. All right, so now we've got all our 3 pins seated, we need to go and grab our green push lock. And for this 3-pin triangle one, it just pretty much pushes right down in that hole in the middle that you can see there. So with that one, we'll grab our long nose pliers again. Now on these ones, they've got a little arrow on the top, and that arrow needs to point towards the socket clip. So grab it, line it up, and push in. And what that does is it actually pushes out those pins and holds them in place for the connection. And that's what we're left with. A nice Deutsche connection for our work lights. So I've gone and done our 2 flush mounts ready for the back of the tray. So let's go throw them in and we'll wire up the car side. Alright, so we got all our lights all wired in for now. Just so you can currently see them all working. I've just got the number plate light and the parkers on. It's quite late down the street, so I don't want to have all my lights going at the once. But you can see that the wiring's working. So next we'll jump into the grinding of the welds and bogging it all. Alright, so what I've done here is all the welds that were holding the plate down, I've ground them all flat. And the next job is we're going to grab our bog and all these gaps around, and on the inside there we're going to bog all those seams and gaps, and what it's going to do is get a nice flat surface over the whole tray and also hide some of these dodgy weld. But that's our next job, so let's get onto it.
A few moments later.
Alright guys, as you can see behind me, it is quite late, so I'm going to call it quits on this episode here. Just to fill you in what I've done a whole bunch of sanding and bogging of the actual tray during the day. It is pretty boring footage, not worth putting in. It's just a whole bunch of me standing there sanding and spraying some water and sanding some more. So that's going to conclude the tray build series. Yes, there's still some painting to go, but we're going to throw that into another episode when I actually respray the cab white Raptor. We're going to do the tray in black Raptor at the same time. Until then, I need to wait for my alley guards and under tray toolboxes coming in that I've ordered through Fused Fabrication, so we'll wait for them to come in. But in the meantime, we've got some cool little projects coming up. I've got some gauges going into the Triton, plus a bit of a facelift from the bull bar. We're going to turn into a comp looking bull bar single hooper. But we've also got a cool little series of a trailer build coming up, where me and the old man, we're going to build a camper trailer to go on the back of his Triton. And on that, it's going to have his rooftop tent and some bits and pieces underneath the trailer, all in one little gear. So it'll be pretty cool. So until then, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on social media to stay up to date with what I'm up to. And we'll see you in the next episode. Catch you, legends.